Well, hello, I'm Morgan Delaney, your author of dark, strange, and fantastic fiction, also professional boogeyman. Himself will be here in a couple of minutes, but we should have time for a quick story first. This one is about prioritizing. It's called Sugar Cows. I need to lose some weight. The train driver left the assistant stoker shoveling coal to inspect his guests. The guests in first class avoided his eye as he entered their carriage, but they wouldn't have to worry. In second class, he paused in front of one family, weighing them up with his eye, then moved on. He hoped for better options in third class, or they were in trouble. He struck it lucky in third class. A religious minister was the first passenger he saw there. The driver asked him if he would sacrifice himself for the good of everyone, for the sugar cows were gaining on them, and to outrun them, the train needed to lighten its load. The minister declined on the grounds he would be of much more use blessing the souls of the other brave volunteers who made that sacrifice. He even helped the train driver bundle them over the railing of the rear viewing platform, and they had emptied a compartment of orphaned girls on their way to a nunnery in next to no time. It couldn't have gone better. Girls were always best because their shrieking and panic could distract hungry sugar cows like nothing else. The mighty beasts were close, obscured behind the thick cloud of dust their enormous hooves kicked up as they thundered after the train. It was the railway company who had named them sugar cows to make a possible encounter with them as palatable as possible to those who were required to use their service to cross the enormous wasteland between coasts. But the winter had been harsh this year, and the sugar cows were hungry. They snatched up the screaming girls and tossed them into their hideous hairy maws without even slowing. The minister had turned the focus of his prayers to his own soul as the sugar cows pounded towards the train. If their appetite could not be appeased, they would devour everyone on board, and they were so close. The train shook on its rails under the driver's feet. No wonder the minister worried, and the driver took mercy on him. He pushed him over the railing to save him from more worry. It was still nowhere near enough. One by one, he tossed passengers from third class over the railing, and one by one, the sugar cows ate them. Still, the terrible predators closed the distance on the train, their carrion breath enveloping it like a bubble of decay rising from a submerged corpse. The train driver worked ceaselessly. One more, just one more, then the rest of us will be safe, he repeated after every trip from the third class carriage to the back of the train. Family members sacrificed themselves for family members, and everyone else praised them as a hero who would never be forgotten, until the driver had emptied third class completely. Then he returned to the second class carriages, and the family he had first inspected were not given much choice about their sacrifice. After all the sacrifices the people in third class had already made, only one more sacrifice and they would all be safe. The rest of the passengers in second class spat at the family, unwilling to do what they could to save the rest of them, as the driver pulled them out of their seats. The sugar cows still gained on the train, but not as quickly. Perhaps with one more sacrifice they might yet escape. And then it was one more, one more, one more, until there was no one left in second class. Still, it wasn't enough, and the driver and the stoker were out of options. The sugar cows were no longer gaining on the train, but just about keeping pace with it. Only one more volunteer, maybe two, and the train would definitely outpace them now. But first-class passengers were out of bounds. The railway company would never let first class come to harm. So the driver gave the stoker the bad news. The stoker shoveled as much coal into the engine as would fit, and then they made their sad way to the rear viewing platform together. People in first class didn't look at them. They were only doing their job after all. The driver knocked the stoker out before he threw the lad over the railing. Then he threw himself off. The train left them behind. For a while, it even looked like leaving the thunder and the stink of the sugar cows behind. For a while. But as the coal in the boiler turned to ash, the train slowed as if wondering what else it could do to protect the company's most valued passengers. All right, good night, sleep tight. Don't look in the wardrobe if you don't want a fright.